World Championship Series Grand Final.
Now he's going to stim and close in from Olsen.
Left. It's all going to come down to this one.
This is amazing play by AfreecaTV.
He runs into the middle, Ornamines through the Liberators, trying to go to the off. This Ultralisk going to TikTok.
생각지도 않던 이런 대회가 갑자기 열려서 되게 좋고요. 또 이 대회가 정말 욕심이 나네요. 중국의 최고의 선수라고 들었지만 저그는 저그일 뿐이라고 생각합니다. 저를 만나서 참 운이 없으시네요.
Maybe I can't win, but I will give INnoVation a hard time. I will show him what a real Zerg is. I want to show everybody a different style. I want to show everybody my best.
Did someone say, are we on? You guys hear me?
Can you guys hear Tasteless?
Wait, guys.
Can you guys hear Tasteless?
Can anyone hear me?
Can you hear Nick?
I don't hear Tasteless. I hear you guys.
My name's Tasteless. This is my job. I'm really excited to be here. Wow. I'm really good at this. I've been doing it for almost my entire life. So, we are here now going into this match. So far, it's been very one-sided games, guys.
Yeah, and this is probably the one that we most thought would be one-sided.
And then it won't be.
Yeah. Perhaps not.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe it will be.
Yeah. No, I think that's safe to say. We really all thought, I think at least the PvP was going to be very close and competitive. Special was the favorite, but 3-0, 3-0 were both series. You could say game 3 was worth watching, but for the PvP it wasn't even that great of a game. So hopefully this is going to get better. The tournament will absolutely get better. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of sick and memorable games. But so far today, it's not been the craziest StarCraft we've ever seen.
Mr. Personality, the monster machine himself.
The interview Bonjour.
He's like, I'm sorry you had to meet
I
me.
mean, that's...
Because my gameplay is phenomenal.
Can you guys imagine for a moment, I'm sorry to just interrupt, but like, what if it was INnoVation versus Serral in the finals?
Oh, and we had
Passer Park is on the stage, hyping the crowd. Interview time.
And I would ask that they have like it's the finals, they have like a counter interview. They're like, Serral, you represent all the non-Koreans. How do you feel? He's like, that's nice. And I go to INnoVation. Like, INnoVation, you're one of the most powerful Koreans ever. How do you feel? He's like,
Zerg is Zerg.
wow.
Zerg is Zerg. You are so unfortunate to have to go against me, INnoVation.
You know what, though? They can afford to have lackadaisical personalities because damn are they good at the game of StarCraft. This guy right here knows it. In his interview, he says, he was like the equivalent of kind of Calzer's where he's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to win, but I'm going to do my darndest. It's like, you know what? Good on you. You are facing a monster.
You also got to keep in mind, there's a lot of people from China right now watching this. We actually have a ton of Chinese fans who tune into the GSL, so a lot of people at home definitely rooting for this guy. I think you're completely right, though, in control. It's like,
Always.
we know, always, every time.
Yeah, 100%.
You perfect human, yo. It's a match I think our Chinese player knows it's going to be tough, but all he can do is do his best and see if he delivers.
I don't want to be that guy that says he's probably going to do it, because there's a very good chance he's not going to do it. But don't forget that the Intel Extreme Masters recently, iAsonu did beat Gumio, who was the most recent GSL champion. So
now listen, Kevin, I'm going to ring you in. Okay, I hear your optimism, I hear your excitement.
I'm not doing that, Jeff. I'm literally
Well, if this kid was
that.
Dutch, he would be calling it 3-0.
He's got it! He's got it, you guys! No, listen.
I was not
They need
doing
three
that.
American
Gumio's a
casters
player.
here to balance out that European bias, man.
Gumio can drop a series, INnoVation can. It's not in the code, man.
All right, guys. We're going into this game, INnoVation versus iAsonu. Let's see what happens. In the upper left, in the blue, we have our Terran player, one of the best of all time. He is
INnoVation.
You're so good at timing these intros, Tasteless. I was taking notes. I was like, how does he do it? How does he exactly know? Because we got no heads up.
That's right.
It's all these years of experience.
It's in my blood now. I didn't ask for these powers, but for those with great powers comes great responsibility.
The best player of China in the right bottom side. Had a great run at the Indox 3 Masters. It is
Invictus Gaming, iAsonu.
Young Padawan, you are learning.
I'm
That was
trying.
very good, Roddy.
You know, Jeff loves to make fun of me, but I wasn't doing that.
Well,
I
I
wasn't
think he loves to
saying
make
that.
fun of everybody.
Yeah, I know. That's how he lives. Right? He wakes up and he's like, "Who am I gonna tease
Who
today?"
am I
And for some reason, it's very often it's Roddy. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna come in here and say that like INnoVation should be super worried. It's gonna be a super close series. I think he's probably gonna lose it. No, INnoVation is the overwhelming favorite. I was just saying we shouldn't count iAsonu out. He's actually one of the most successful players in the WCS circuit this year. He even missed Valencia, and now very recently he made it out of a group with Gumiho and Stats. And if you can do that, Tasteless, you deserve my respect, and I can never count you out.
You know, to top that all off, I think that as good as INnoVation is, I think iAsonu is one of these players. I don't believe he's as phased. Maybe as versus, no offense to Calazar, but Calazar, I think definitely there was some mind games going on once he just saw who he was up against.
Yeah.
I think iAsonu could do it, but again, this is in some ways an unfortunate Terran to have to face off against this early on in the tournament. I'm hoping it will not be a 3-0. And I think you're right. It certainly could happen.
Yeah, I like that you said that about Calazur, because it's very, very uncommon that as someone in his interview said, I'm actually kind of upset I'm playing against Special. I would have rather faced a Korean. That's obviously not the greatest mindset ever to have, where you're basically looking on the right and you see the best or 8 of the very best Korean players. You're like, all right, SOS, Beyond, Dark, Hero, Sply, TY, you know, Sue, or Stats. I would have rather had those guys than Special. That's obviously not the greatest mindset to go into a series with, but yeah, they just have a lot of personal history. Now, either way, what can I tell you about iAsonu's ZVT? I can tell you that's a little bit unorthodox. He likes to use Swarm most as well, whether he plays against Mac or Bio. And he's one of these Zerg Tasteless that loves his timings with Ravagers and Lynx and let's say roughly 51, 52 drones.
So do you feel like this will be a game that would probably not go necessarily into a super late game? You feel like iAsonu wants to try to come in here and cripple his opponent somehow, some way, and then try to terminate him from there?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Hive Tech come out of him. I'm not saying it's impossible. There is a chance that maybe he does go for a Brood Lord transition every now and then, or maybe we see some Ultras on one of the larger maps, but on a map like Abyssal, I just don't see him ever go up to Hive, and I don't think INnoVation would allow him to go up to Hive either.
Well, that's one thing about INnoVation is his overall play style. We joke about him being robotic, but it's honestly meant as the greatest compliment of all, is that he's like a supercomputer. You know, he continues to push. It's this mounting pressure that never really backs off. And it's not even like he's ever really overextending. It's usually the Zerg player barely deflecting everything until the game snowballs out of control, spirals out of control, and he crushes him. And I think if iAsonu is going to win this, he has to first manage to hold off one of the best pressure players in all of RTS history.
So INnoVation, I totally agree with everything you just said, Tasteless. INnoVation picked up 6 Marines and a Widowmine. It's a pretty common opening these days. Some people love it, some people are not that big fan of it, but all the greatest Terrans in the world seem to like this opening. So I think we can safely say or assume that it is indeed a very strong opening, just because it can keep your opponent busy for a while. Here is that Widowmine. iAsonu not reacting.
God! 4 drones taken out. The harass is continuing on. 6 kills now. iAsonu did not seem to have his screen in the right place at the right time.
I don't know what he was looking at, actually. Maybe he was already taking care of the Liberator. Maybe the Queen there from the south side can get in range of this medevac. No, it cannot. There is a Liberator heading towards the third base as well, and you still have to worry about the Spore Crawler. The amount of damage... Oh, these Queens! Nope.
I don't know what's going on. I thought that was going to go down for sure. More hits over here.
I think it was.
Yeah, I believe it was a larva connected. I don't think it got any drones, assuming that the little panel was not put up to tell us the kills on that. But so far so good here for INnoVation. I mean, this is the kind of momentum that Terran loves to have starting out at TVZ, because as long as you're slowing down worker counts and making them keep rebuilding workers, their army's going to be smaller later on.
Yep, that's exactly what INnoVation is doing so far. The matter of fact, didn't get picked up there by these queens, and this Liberator didn't get that many kills just yet. Maybe the Spork and deflect this Liberator as well, or maybe even get the kill. But INnoVation is already happy with how the opening phase in this game went. He got, I think, in total 7-8 drones so far, and a lot of lost mining time. So this is often it's like, all right, I'm happy because I'm going to get +1. Stim is on the way, and soon when INnoVation decides to run across the map, it is going to be very, very difficult for iAsonu to deal with. But I must say, Tasteless, the worker count, 63 drones despite all that lost mining time. That's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad. But I think when we see INnoVation come out with an attack like that 1-2 punch, it did everything it was supposed to do. Now, fortunately, for iAsonu, he did actually take out the Liberator and the Medevac. Certainly if those get away and you can go back and repair everything, then Terran has basically lost nothing and done everything that they could to basically slow you down. So let's not give up on iAsonu just yet. He's getting that 1-1. He's trying to get the tech set up for the Banelings to have enough to answer that. But with Stim finishing up, this is the next phase where you can both drop and push on the ground at the same time. And this is one of the things that INnoVation does best, is forcing Zerg to respect Terran's map presence. And he guns down a lot of creep tumors. It's certainly very frustrating for a Zerg player to deal with. Let's see how he handles it himself.
These queens are quite far out of position. If I was iAsonu, I would retreat real quick because he doesn't have any Banelings yet. He wants to protect his port hatchery. But Tasteless, there's a lot of firepower in these Marines.
Wow, I cannot believe how good the targeting is here. Losing a few Marines, but taking out 3 queens. Backing up, that Medevac is so low on HP. Now, there should be 2 more Medevacs popping out along with enough Marines to do a doubled up attack again here if you choose to do so, or do a drop to the main. And even though both players on both sides are going to have their 1-1 finishing up, I just see, similar to our previous series where we saw Special slowly kill Kalizur, death by 1,000 cuts, I think the narrative, at least, is the same here for INnoVation versus iAsonu for Game 1.
We see the Hydra list then being thrown down as well, and that's kind of cool. So we're going to see a little bit of Hydra Ling Bane, something that's becoming more and more popular in this matchup as well. We've seen it for many, many months in Zerg versus Protoss, and I think it's great. iAsonu has a great work account as well. I'm just kind of worried about the first very real push, but so far, the creep spread by iAsonu is pretty good. If he can avoid taking a lot of damage against these mines.
Oh! Great connects there. You know, the position the mine was in, tucked in the nook of the mineral patch, allowed it to do so much more damage. There was no way for the Lynx to actually take it out. Oh my god, the targeting is sick.
Yeah, Bailing speed is not done yet, so these are going to be 15 kind of scary seconds, even though all of the Marines did just get picked up. The drilling class is being researched as well. INnoVation throws out a scan, he's like, where is your army? I think this is one of these games where as INnoVation, you almost feel that it's going too good to be true. You're just wondering, you're asking yourself, like, okay, so is he gonna like Bailing drop soon? Is he gonna run a couple of Bailings through my depots? What is exactly the plan of this Zerg player? Because so far he's just letting me do whatever I want to do, and he's not really doing anything in return.
You know, it's a tough situation sometimes for Zerg in this matchup, because there's definitely a period of time, if you're playing like INnoVation is and how iAsonu is playing, where the Zerg has to deflect everything before they really have their own opportunities to try to come out there and do some damage to their opponents. So let's see if he can continue to hold this up, but this again really where INnoVation begins to ramp up damage.
There's definitely not enough Bailings. There's a lot of Bailings on the north side of the map that are running towards the natural INnoVation, so these depots will go down, and a lot of SCVs are going to go down as well.
Okay, not bad at all. 14 kills, that's exactly what he needed to do. In fact, he's going to get even more. However, INnoVation has more damage that can last and sustain in this push, and even though iAsonu takes out those workers, can he stop the push here from INnoVation?
I hear Todd in my ear, look at these supply. He's almost doubling army supply right now. Losing the fort base is obviously devastating for Zerg in this matchup. iAsonu still has 75 drones, which is awesome, but he has no place to put them. And that's the biggest problem for him right now.
I think as long as INnoVation can get that second base back up and running at a pretty good level, he could be okay. Okay, hold up. Terran getting blindsided right now. INnoVation, the one who's not really on top of his army when he needs to be. Some very good connects on those Banelings, and he will pick up and have to back out. Now, if INnoVation had not taken so much damage, the basic Terran game plan is to just run around and continuously wipe out the fourth base, and eventually you're just in a better economic spot. But I gotta say, iAsonu is holding his own.
Yep, iAsonu did finally do some counter damage on the other side of the map, but at what cost? The cost of his own fort base. And fort base for Zerg is so incredibly important, especially if you try to play the style that iAsonu is currently playing with Zerglings, Banelings, and Hydralisks. Losing your fort is almost unforgivable. Now he's rebuilding it, this time in a safer location. It's going to be a little bit easier for him to defend that. It's going to make it a lot harder for Inno to push on creep. But INnoVation is probably still feeling quite comfortable. And he's trying to get his own fort base up. And Terran ahead of supply against Zerg in this matchup. On a map like Abyssal, it's going to be a hard one, Basis.
Yeah, it certainly is. I do like the creep spread, though, overall. I think this is definitely the right idea. And you know what? As time passes, it's getting tougher and tougher for INnoVation to make a dent here in iAsonu, which is impressive considering the first initial drops did the most damage. Normally that's when the Zerg is injured enough that they don't have enough defense, enough security to actually last the next follow-up attack.
Well, INnoVation is in the middle of the map with a lot of units. That's not iAsonu's entire army. He's morphing 20 additional Banelings. Now Saintman is going to go for a little counterattack. One tank was left behind though, but I think that's all it was. So maybe iAsonu once again is going to be able to pick up quite a few workers. I mean, if INnoVation slips up once, if once...
Oh my god, the Banelings! Great connect, 9 kills.
And he's pulling the entire army back.
Yeah.
That's obviously great news. I thought the Hive was done already. Maybe the Hive is just done right now. It's finally finished up. I wonder what iAsonu is going to do with it. I guess he's just going to throw down an Ultralisk Cavern because I don't think we even have a Spire. But is INnoVation ever going to give the Chinese Zerg the time to get Ultras out?
Well, looks like your question's about to be answered. The Cavern's starting, but INnoVation is beginning this push. INnoVation, by the way, is ahead in supply, despite some of these great plays by iAsonu. You're seeing the actual macro muscle of INnoVation that makes him so hard to stop, is that no matter what happens, he just keeps producing. Even if your harass is quite good against him, he seems to always have more than you.
Needs to buy time, Tasteless, but how is our Chinese Zerg gonna buy the amount of time that he needs? As he's hovering around 155 supply against a maxed out INnoVation, who normally doesn't waste too much time. If he feels like he can end it, he's absolutely going to try. And our Chinese Zerg, I mean, he needs to buy time. That's all he needs to do. This hatchery is going to fall. But can he buy enough time for a couple of Ultras to get out?
We'll see. I mean, I think on some level, iAsonu sacked that expansion, probably realizing, okay, I just need to buy time. I don't need that base specifically. He does have 2 other bases in the lower center right quadrant of the map. So
a couple of Vipers on the way as well.
Yeah, I didn't actually expect that.
Well, he's going to abduct a Tor, maybe a tank. I guess whatever he can get. I mean, iAsonu, his Ultimate Cavern has finished up. He has 53 Banelings as well. It will all come down to the engagement, but going up that ramp is absolutely not an option unless you want to lose.
It was a pretty good bait there by INnoVation. He's just hoping that if the Banelings come in, he can use his tanks to target down the center of the Baneling clubs. And usually you've done enough damage because losing Banelings, especially in large numbers, is such a blow economically to the Zerg. They don't have a lot of muscle. Later on, a counterattack here that is completely not going to work. It seems like INnoVation is turtled up pretty heavily inside of his base with the perfect kind of combo to deny Banelings. It's Marauders and tanks of the sort.
There aren't that many Marauders in the middle of the map though. Maybe if iAsonu can get a great surround here, Tasteless, do you think it's possible? Can he jump on this Terran army? I wouldn't let it retreat though, because I feel that if INnoVation can just go home after picking up those bases, then I truly feel it's the beginning of the end. I would have loved to see iAsonu try to swarm this army, because it was kind of cornered.
Yeah, well, iAsonu has been very patient, and I think this is something INnoVation's not used to dealing with. I really got to say, iAsonu is very much impressing me in this game, because what's happening is most games INnoVation is pushing, and the Terran is scrambling to stop it at all costs, and he ends up hemorrhaging too much of the army. The game spirals out of control. Terran walks over the Zerg. In this game, iAsonu backs up, tries to counterattack, identifies the counterattack isn't going to work, backs up. He's got just enough bases to keep functionality going. INnoVation eventually, though, is going to pull the trigger because the longer he lets Zerg stay like this, the more sophisticated the Zerg army gets.
At least with Ultras, there is a dream. It's a lot of Zerglings and Banelings as well. What are these Vipers going to do for a Chinese Zerg? It's a little bit difficult to engage in Abyssal, but he's also sending a couple of units toward the north side of the map. Things are getting interesting. Things are heating up over here on Abyssal.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know about the 2 Ultras over here, because I think those might be better against the main army, but I guess if there's not, because you know, the problem with Ultras is you can't run away with them. The stim units will always hunt them down. So he does give up those 2, but you know what, Roddy, he did force that army to go back. So I mean, I guess it's okay. And yeah, 3-3 finishing here as well.
And at the same time, he's going to jump on these tanks in the middle of the map. A single Blinding Cloud did go down, got 2 of these tanks. Look at the amount of Bailing still alive here for iAsonu as well, who has taken a minor supply lead for the very first time in this game. Chinese Zerg's putting up a lot of a
I
fight.
know. Honestly, iAsonu could win this game. I mean, he's doing a great job. And, you know, the longer a game goes on in a TVZ for the Terran, there's not a lot of bases Terran can just take. Eventually, you've kind of used up. Usually it's a quadrant of the map. They've taken everything on that side of the map, and Terran can't pull out that much further. But Zerg can keep expanding pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, and since iAsonu used to have the base at 6 o'clock as well, the other bases that he recently took are all very, very fresh and won't run out anytime soon. As once again, we're going to have a Zergling counterattack over here on the left top side. 3-3 upgrades are done for iAsonu as well during all of this. Now, INnoVation still has one hell of an army, but stepping on creep against Ultras and Lings with Adreno and 3-3. This is actually getting so much closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, this is a great job here. Now is this? I think this could be an overextension. Okay, he has to back up.
Look at the money, Tasteless. iAsonu is so rich.
Oh my God, I had not actually noticed that until you mentioned that. That's a really good point. He's got enough gas. Even if he, flashes into the main army and loses a good amount of ultras, he can immediately remake them. And a lot of times when you get this far along in a game, well, can't now, he spent the rest of that money, but a lot of times when you get far enough in a game, oh, hold up, this is bad. This is bad. Too many ultras are being picked off here.
A couple of them go down for free, and unfortunately there's no creep spread at all over here on the north side, so temporarily iAsonu is going to evacuate this mineral line. I still like where this game is going. I mean, INnoVation has 5 bases, but obviously the first 3 are pretty much empty. So it all comes down to base number 4 and 5. Our iAsonu history bases are all still very, very fresh. iAsonu is forcing Inno to keep a lot of units at home as well. A couple of Corruptors are being added on now. Liberator Range is about to finish up. Burrow is about to finish up as well, and I know you love some Burrow Banelings.
I love my Burrow Banelings, man. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull him up, but that would be nice. The thing is, I've never seen INnoVation so tame in a game, right? He's constantly having to pull back. He's not able to do the real damage he wants to do. INnoVation it seems to be unable to bait iAsonu whatsoever, but now, in this position, he could try to push it and do just that.
And this is going to get a little bit awkward as iAsonu is counterattacking once again. This planetary is going to go down incredibly quickly, but INnoVation is going to shut down 2 bases of iAsonu very, very quickly, which means that the Chinese Zerg is also down just a single base. That Liberator is not sieged up, is it? No, those Libs are not doing anything.
Okay, he's still taking out a good amount of hatcheries, so both these guys suffering some serious losses. Wow. Both of them essentially maxed out right now. iAsonu coming here, trying to fight back, but I think there may be too much Terran muscle to stop this push. Perhaps an overextension there by iAsonu. But you know what, Roddy? Bases are good too. You need lots of them. And iAsonu is taking them out and doing a fantastic job. He just needs to hang on back at home.
There isn't really that much anti-air in this army anymore either. Maybe these Corruptors can start picking off a couple of these Liberators. Unfortunately, he sent them a little bit too far forward, and there were still a couple of Marines, but iAsonu is going to clean up the majority of the units here, I believe, and force INnoVation to evacuate. And INnoVation has like no mining bases left. I think he just retook.
Wait, does iAsonu have anything mining?
No.
I don't think he does. They're both broke.
They're very broke, but these units are still stuck. As a matter of fact, that's not a planetary yet. iAsonu needs to win the game with this push, Tasteless.
Okay, he's coming in. Liberators are shut up, but Corruptors, baby, they're moving in now. Marines come in to stem and try to drive them out. This game of cat and mouse on both sides. The Fungals are sick. That's exactly what he needs to do. Can he continue to push in, though?
He needs to avoid those Liberators. I think he lost a couple of Corruptors too many. He sent them a little bit too far north in that previous battle. Now iAsonu feels that INnoVation is overstepping his boundaries. There is no anti-air in this army. Where's the anti-air? It's just a couple of Liberators, right?
Yeah, no, it's just Liberators, and in fact, he's going to try to pick them up, which means he could be driven out of this position, but you got to be careful. That many Marauders, even though there's a good amount of Ultralists are only as good as you have other units paired with them, like Lings and Banelings.
The biggest problem is that there is just very, very little income right now for iAsonu. He just finally retook one base.
That's it. iAsonu can't get a base up and running. At the same time, INnoVation has it, but that game was sick.
Yeah, that was actually...
I love that.
The start wasn't all that pretty, and that makes you wonder if iAsonu doesn't lose 8 drones against that very first drop, which was only 6 Marines and a mine. What if he gets a slightly better mid-game? I love the counters, love the mechanics, creep threat was good. Eventually he did get up too high, he got ultras out. INnoVation probably was surprised as well. It's like, that boy put up a good fight. I'm impressed.
Oh yeah, well I mean, It's not what I'm used to seeing in an INnoVation game. Normally he just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like The Blob. You know that old movie The Blob where eventually the whole town has become The Blob? That's him with the map.
No,
but in this case, you don't know The Blob?
No.
Well, you know what blobs don't like, Roddy? They don't like fire. In this case, their Chinese player has the fire abilities. He's keeping him back, and that game could have gone the other way around had INnoVation just lost a little bit more, and iAsonu had some better engages back at home.
Yeah.
You can see iAsonu knows how to go down that CDT rabbit hole against the very best of the best and still handle himself.
I feel if iAsonu would have spent his money a tiny bit better, it almost felt like he was waiting, wondering what he should spend it on exactly. Does he need a few more Corruptors? Does he need extra Banes? Does he need Ultras? He was waiting, and then suddenly a couple of Ultras were caught off guard as they were on creep, and that's when that crazy base race started. But I feel if he would have had a few more units at home, maybe he gets the Liberators, he doesn't lose all 3 of those bases. I think if he keeps one of the 3 alive, it could have been closer. Now, I have to say, Tasteless, just a couple of weeks ago, I was watching you guys from home. I was just sitting comfortable in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Scarlet was playing against INnoVation as well. First game, absolutely phenomenal by Scarlet.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
And then suddenly game 2 and 3, INnoVation shows up. It's like, no, you know, actually, if I really have to do it,
yeah,
I can do it. So sometimes INnoVation is a little bit of a slow starter.
Well, INnoVation also is somebody who knows how to adapt. That's why he's really scary at a best of 5. iAsonu, by the way, must be exhausted after that first game, but at the same time, probably finding a little bit of hope in this series, saying, wait a minute, that was a great series. I'm in the GSL studio. I held my own. Many people say INnoVation's the greatest Terran of all time in StarCraft 2, and I was doing okay.
Yep.
I just got to step it up a little bit more, maybe 5-10% better than the last game, and I can win.
I totally agree with you. I think the first game is often very important for your confidence. Whether you win or lose it, as long as you start feeling it a little, you know, you feel like you're in the zone. You came, I want to say, all the way from China. It's not that far, guys. It's a 2-hour flight. But obviously,
he had to swim here. It was an epic 3-day swim, and he made it. Boy, are his arms tired. But honestly, like, this is a big moment for him. He actually could have won that last game, and we went in way deep into a CDT. We had the tech trees finished up. He was holding his own.
And I even think that Abysso, I'm not saying that it's a terrible Zerg map, but it can get a little bit tricky because there's a lot of choke points, especially with the amount of Liberators that INnoVation was playing with. It can be very hard to engage. There's a lot of spots where you can take the high ground. Maybe Newkirk, where there is quite a bit of open space in the middle of the map. Maybe with all the counterattacks, which is obviously possible as well via the north side of this map. Perhaps iAsonu can pick up the cheeky map victory here.
It's time, Ronnie. Let's do this. Game number 2, INnoVation versus iAsonu.
Over here on the left bottom side of Newkirk, looking at the main base, the man, the myth, the machine. It is
INnoVation.
Must destroy Zerg player.
Zerg is Zerg. Makes no difference to me.
In the bottom right, in the red, from China, he is
Invictus Gaming, iAsonu.
iAsonu really has grown a lot as a player over the last few months, and that's awesome to see.
This is our Sarah Connor Zerg. That's the Terminator. You did see the Terminator, right? You haven't seen the Blob. You have seen the Terminator, right?
A couple of them, but not really in the right
order. No, like
order.
the first 2. The other ones never happened. They never happened. Thanks for coming down, guys. Hope you're enjoying the games.
All I know about
You didn't see the first 2 Terminator movies?
Is that the one with Get to the Chopper?
Yeah, with Schwarzenegger. Well, yeah, the first 2. Yeah.
Where do they get to the chopper, Tasteless?
Oh, wait a minute. No, wait. What is
Chopper?
The chopper? No, that's not Terminator. That's something else.
I think it has to be the Terminator.
Somebody tweeted me and let me know. No, because the Terminator's emotionless.
Oh, really? He doesn't talk?
Sarah Connor. That's me. Shoots the wrong Sarah Connor.
I'm pretty sure that the chopper is from the Terminator, but
I don't know. I'm not. You might be right. I might be wrong. Okay, so this map is funny. We have had a lot of games in this matchup end like right exactly in the middle of mid game. Like Terran just pushes enough and manages to break the Zerg. But we've also had games that go crazy long. And some of the problems that I think, stay with me on this, it's going to sound weird, but some of the problems that Zerg have on Abyssal, you can also have on this map.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are a couple of gnarly spots. Let's say iAsonu takes the base on the left side of his natural, then INnoVation can take the high ground near the rocks.
Yeah.
And then you have indeed one of those ugly scenarios as well. It's like, do I want to go up that ramp? What if there's a couple of tanks? What if there's mines that I don't see? So you're not wrong, but it plays out different. What I mostly wonder is how iAsonu is deciding to expand on this map. Because obviously the last game already shown that INnoVation likes to apply a lot of pressure on the forward base. But where iAsonu took it the first time, is this time he's taking his third base on the north side of his natural as well. Like on Abyssal, losing the fort wasn't that bad because he took it so far away from his main that the next time he took his fort, it was actually a lot easier to defend. But I think if you lose your fort base on Nuker, it becomes a lot more ugly very, very quickly.
Okay, the Reaper's coming down now. Oh! That was sick. He actually launched the drone over the Queen and then gunned it down. I think you have to get, half a win for that at least in a best of 5. I'm not sure. We have to check the rules. That was beautiful, though, by INnoVation.
Yeah, some sick railgun play. Good old days. Getting in perhaps another one here as well. No, he could have maybe moved the Reaper a tiny bit. If you put the Reaper right on top of the drone, then the drone actually can't morph into a spore crawler. And sometimes you see Terran players actually pick up 2 kills. So much about this Reaper nerf. At Tasteless, they're still killing workers left and right.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. We're going to have to see how the rest of this game goes. We have the Reapers coming forward now. A Reaper with the Hellions. This is a little bit of a different approach that we have from the previous game.
Yeah, it's going to be Cloak Banshee as a follow-up as well. For now, there's a Viking on the way, so the Viking can push away the Overlord. It's going to make it a little bit more tricky for iAsonu to scout. I'm surprised that INnoVation changes his opening up that much, because he actually was, I think, relatively successful with his opening on Abyssal. And I don't think it would have played out that differently this time.
Well,
did Overlord spot the tech lab?
I think it should have. In fact, the fact that he's going back there makes me doubt that.
Well,
okay,
now he definitely
sure
sees it. Yeah, 100%.
Are you sure? Do we know how far an Overlord can really see? No, he gets it. He spots it. Okay, now we got Banshees with Cloak coming up here. Now, this form of pressure doesn't normally lend itself to melting down their army and continue to do damage. Sometimes you just get in the right position to wipe out the workers. And so far, everything's working. He's cleaning up the Overlords. He's checking around for possible counterattacks or straylings or anything like that. And now he's beginning to push into this Zerg's base.
I'm starting a little bit worried. I'm not sure if there's a proper answer against 4 to 6 Hellions, especially not if the Banshees show up as well. iAsonu is getting spores though, and that is absolutely mandatory against these Cloak Banshees that are heading towards his main. Look at these Hellions, Tasteless. They're just ignoring the Queens. They're probably going to go for the main or maybe get a couple of shots up in the natural.
I think they should have actually gone into the main there, but I guess this is fine. He's going to come up here now. The drones continue to rotate around. Not a lot to block here. Oh my God, 6 kills. Can he get any more? 7 now, and that's where it's going to end.
I thought I was going to be a lot worse, Tasteless. I really don't blame you there. I thought it was going to be 16 or 17 as all those drones were awfully close towards each other. But in the end, INnoVation is going to split up his Banshees here. So it's not done yet, but I feel that could have been so much worse for the Chinese Zerg.
Banshee coming up now. Now keep in mind some of these drones having to split between the 2 worker patches. We don't see it. Okay, no, we do see a Queen up here with the Spore. But if he stays in between those 2 areas, he can actually gun down some more. Oh, we just caught that. He actually stopped the CC from making.
Yep, got 2 SCVs for his efforts there as well with his little link counter. So a few more drones are going to go down. They're dead even in workers, but there's a lot of workers on the way right now for iAsonu. And the moment that these Cloak Banshees, this one Viking's got 4 kills already, wants to get number 5, and it does get 5.
Okay, he's getting way too much at this point in time. Like the Overlords alone, you can't lose that many. This is starting to snowball here. And by the way, Stim again about to finish up. And that Stim really is the moment you can push out with a proper ground army. Not like that one we saw that pushed out here earlier, but a Marine medevac army. And if the Zerg missteps, then they get punished pretty severely.
Yeah, I agree. If it was just the drones, and obviously it's ugly, but let's say it's 2 Banshees and 6 Hellions for roughly 15 drones. It's a lot of dead drones, but I can sort of live with it at that point because you buy a little bit of time for yourself as well. But the 5 Overlords that went down against the Viking, that's just a few too many. Like 1 is obviously quite normal, 2 is acceptable as well. 3 is where it's like, alright, you maybe should have tried to hide that one. But 4 and 5, and iAsonu was supply blocked because of that as well. And the moment he was supply blocked, it took him longer and longer to rebuild the workers he was already losing. Now there are 16 Marines with Stim heading towards his main. Bailing Nest not even done yet.
Yeah, this is where it can start to get a little bit scary. Now, I do like the creep spread. We've noticed with iAsonu, he is pretty vigorous at keeping the creep everywhere, despite excuse me, despite how much the Terran is leaning on him. But let's see how this drop actually goes over here. He's coming up, and there's lings here, but there might not be enough lings. Well, it depends on how he spreads the Marines as well. He wants to try to hug a wall here. And it looks like the drop is not positioned in such a way that it's easily able to gun down the lings. So this drop will have to turn around.
Matter of fact, takes a little bit of damage. I agree with you. That could have been a little bit worse for iAsonu if those lings were dropped in different positions. More Overlord's going to go down, though, and at least one.
This
the other
is
one was
the Overlord story here. Actually, he should be able to
go
get.
down as
Yeah, he can get that. Okay, so how many Overlords has
Seven.
he lost? 7
least
Overlords.
7, maybe
wow. You know, that's a lot of minerals lost, and that's a lot of block supply. So, you know, even though we haven't seen as many drone kills as I think INnoVation was gunning for, he's taking whatever iAsonu will let him get. In this case, it's the Overlords, which is, I got to say, very nicely done. We normally don't see more than 1 or 2 killed off there. But, yeah, I think iAsonu maybe not quite as focused this game, but still has a shot.
For me, this is almost a trend in some of iAsonu his games. I rarely see iAsonu have a fantastic start, as a few more Marines over here cleaning up Cryptomus left and right. But then somehow he does a phenomenal job in staying alive a little bit longer, and it really seems that this Chinese Zerg has excellent mid-game, and he has a really good will to survive and claw his way back into games. It's just a shame that he almost always ends up quite a bit behind. Even in his series at the Intox 3 Masters against TY as well, he put up a really good fight in Game 2. And I think he even got himself ahead at one point, despite the fact that he often had a rough start. In pretty much every single game, he had a very, very rough start.
Yeah, this was, this kid's got a lot of heart. I'll give him that. He is a fighter, and he is doing a good job. I'm just worried that things might start to get a little bit worse and worse here. Now, keep in mind, the bases that iAsonu has now, those are the bases that are the easiest for Zerg to take. The longer this game goes on, the harder the expanding will be for the Zerg.
Not having any creep in that northern phase of secret hallway over there on
That's right.
That's making a comeback from Zolnaga Caverns.
That's right, it's back, it's in now.
But that could be problematic
It's
because
also not going to be a secret for too much longer here. We've got a lot of people watching this.
Eventually there's going to be more and more pressure on that fort base at the north side of the map. And if you don't have any creep there, it just becomes a nightmare to deal with as well. His INnoVation right now throws down a scan. He was perhaps wondering or hoping that iAsonu was taking a hatchery there as well. That is not the case. But now he's getting quite close towards the natural of iAsonu. I'm not sure if INnoVation's going to go for the main.
Oh, sick. I'm not sure if Zerg's ready. Seems like he had enough. We didn't get a full glimpse of what was there, but he decided to turn around. But he's got enough drop ships that he could try to pounce a certain location. iAsonu's not ready for.
You know, this is impressive, right, by iAsonu, because he's down 35 supply, but he has units in the right places almost everywhere, and he's making it hard for INnoVation to truly press the advantage that INnoVation has created for himself. So this is all really good play by iAsonu. It's just such a shame that he's always doing it after almost a disastrous start where he just ended up losing way too much.
Okay, INnoVation, it looks like he might be reverting back to trying to just push out here. Keep in mind, INnoVation doesn't have to push if he doesn't want to. He can try to stay back and drag this game out. But I think with the position over here, with the siege tanks in range or this ramp, it's very tough for Zerg to do anything. And so much of the production is going to be coming out here. This is so far being handled really well here by INnoVation. But let's see if the surround can possibly take him out.
Wow, that's actually a beautiful engagement by iAsonu, as most of these Liberators have gone down. A couple of tanks do survive, and in the end, the tanks will fall as well. That was awesome. Great defense by iAsonu. And that's just kind of stuff I'm talking about. This kid is really good, and he's got a couple of great moves up his sleeves. The problem is, Tasteless, the early game is just often putting him too far behind.
Roddy McDam. We have 11 mutas on the way. He's completely switching it up. This is pretty cool. We'll see as INnoVation tries to expand out how ready he is for this. We have an Overseer morphing over here, by the way, with the Banshee continuing to pursue these workers. Hydras come up here now, and they should be able to take this out, but not before a decent amount of workers have already been picked off.
Yeah, the Overseer needs to finish up, and it will finally finish up there as well, as we have the infestation bit going down. Are there any missile turrets in the main? That's obviously a big question. Now, don't forget, these Marines do have +2 attack already, so you want to be very, very careful with your 0-0 meters, but those are some very exposed mineral lines, Tasteless.
Yeah, and you know what? Along with these workers being picked off, assuming that iAsonu can retreat in time, he does. He heads towards the main, but this may set up for Zerg to try to do another counterattack over here at the 4th base for Terran. Marines are going to have to go back here and try to defend, which means there may be lacking Marines elsewhere on the map.
This is the type of Muda switch that you normally see in Zerg versus Protoss, right?
Yeah.
Where you have a couple of big battles and then suddenly it's like, surprise, you have no Phoenixes against Terran. You don't see this very often. INnoVation is probably wondering, like, what are you doing?
INnoVation's going to have to get some Phoenixes of his own, Roddy. These mutas are doing a lot of damage here.
That visitor is still not done. You can see INnoVation being a little bit confused there. 15 SCVs went down, but obviously he oh no, the mutas were right-clicked on the eBay. Ooh.
Yeah, 15 SCV kills. By the way, I thought we might have a counterattack here, but it looks like iAsonu is just going to try to use these mutas to do as much damage as they can. He might even sack some of them and try to use the supply for something else, but this totally worked. We've had INnoVation completely occupied for the time being.
Yep, and that maybe allowed iAsonu to spread a little bit more creep as well. Now Inno does have that 5th base. There is a missing turret here as well. A couple of these mutas still being annoying. INnoVation's probably had more than enough of this. He's going to wait for 3-3. Finds a couple of queens in the middle of the map as well. Can iAsonu have another fantastic engagement like he had earlier over here on Nuker?
Okay, Zerg is geared up and now expanding to the bases that are on the center perimeter of the map.
That's too close,
Oh my god. Ah, he's going to push in. Does he have enough to defend? The Banelings could just barely finish. He might try.
Close your eyes.
Okay, he took out a good amount of those Banelings, but still, some of them managed to survive. The mutas are still causing a headache for INnoVation over here. But if INnoVation could get wedged in this valley and get sieged up, he might be able to hold off an attack from all sides.
Yep, there's a couple of units on the south side there for iAsonu as well. I just wish he had a little bit of creep there. That really would have made his life a lot easier. Is he going to try to jump on all those Marines and Marauders as the tanks are on siege? iAsonu didn't have vision of the army for a split second. Now I do believe the tanks are sieged up though. Here he goes.
He's coming in now. Banelings spreading. Marines and Marauders getting disconnected from the tanks, but when it's all said and done, enough tanks, a Thorn, enough Marauders are still there. iAsonu trying to get as many links, 56 in this case, to do a follow-up attack to come in for the surround, and I believe this should end up cleaning the rest of this up.
Yeah, but INnoVation picks up as many units as he can, barely loses any of the tanks. In the end, he does finally clean up the mutas as well, except one lone muta.
That's Muttosis. He has 10 less HP and 4 glaives, but the 4th glaive doesn't do any damage. And
I don't even know what you just said, but tasteless. There's 105 Zerglings on the map.
Yes. He's taken out that muta. Now it's mostly Ling Baneling while Zerg's trying to get the Ultras out. But I got to say, again, iAsonu is holding his own. This has been a great series so far.
Yeah, he has, and this makes you wonder what happens if he actually has a solid early game where he doesn't end up losing 5, 6, 7 Overlords and a whole bunch of drones as well. And it's not even because he's that greedy, just a couple of silly mistakes almost early on. I think the next push though, Taste, is going to be so incredibly hard to deal with. I think iAsonu agrees with us, so he's going to try to counterattack and buy some time for these Ultras.
Okay, this is a pretty serious counter. He's going to try to actually barrel through the defenses using a lot of those Banelings on those depots. There are tanks that were not picked off, and I think this was definitely an overextension for iAsonu.
Yeah, I mean, it was just Zerglings in the end. He does have 4 Ultras on the way, but you're right. Finally, INnoVation is still maxed out. That is that magic of INnoVation, right? You're trading, you have a big battle on the top side of the map. It's a bloodbath, units die left and right, and then suddenly you're hovering at 130. And INnoVation is maxed out. Like, he never really took any damage. And this is where things become very, very dicey for iAsonu.
INnoVation's about to BBQ this nerd. He's coming in here. There's nothing left. I think that iAsonu has basically gotten to a point where the critical mass is so much for INnoVation. He could walk around the map just stamping out bases until eventually iAsonu has to tap out.
Yep, iAsonu is going to try to counterattack one more time. But I agree, the cruise threat wasn't there for some of those big battles as well, and I think that really hurt. Obviously, INnoVation did a great job in picking up creep over and over again. A couple of Ultras do catch these tanks off guard, so a couple of tanks do go down. But the firepower of this Terran army and INnoVation is everywhere at once.
Yeah, you can see now the pushes coming in here. The few remaining Ultras are not backed up with enough Lings, enough Queens, enough anything. GG. INnoVation now up in a 2-0 lead. iAsonu is showing some excellent CDT, but the longer the game goes on, eventually INnoVation has the edge.
Yep, I especially love that one battle on the right bottom side of the map near the natural of iAsonu. That was a really beautiful engagement.
Yeah.
Where there were tanks and liberators as well. That could have gone incredibly bad for the Chinese Zerg, but he held his own there. He cleaned up the army and he turned it into a game. It's just once again, he was fighting an uphill battle since the very first minute. And I kind of like the muta switch as well, as random as it was. INnoVation probably wondering what on earth. Just switching into 11 mutas when I have 4 bases with 0/0 upgrades. I've got 2/2 Marines. What are
was
you
cool.
doing?
Although I do wonder if getting, I think it was a dozen mutas actually is going to pay for itself. That's a lot of gas.
Yep.
And like it did kill all the SCVs, but eventually INnoVation cleans it up and he's like, okay, now I'm pissed. Moves across the map and just starts shredding up everything. And I think INnoVation made the right choice, by the way, for going for the long game there. It's eventually too hard for Zerg to take these expansions close to the center.
Let's really hope that iAsonu, or IA as he likes to be called, every now and then we asked him, he's like, no, IA is fine. I was like, but everybody calls you iAsonu. He's like, I kind of like IA. IA is really not that bad. But we're still going to roll with iAsonu, as that's what the graphics say. You know, I just hope he has a solid early game, Tasteless.
Yeah, well, that's the problem is he's also lost a decent amount of units every time. And if he doesn't, who knows how strong he'll actually be. Because usually against INnoVation, if you lose that many units, you always lose about like 8 minutes later. He just starts to push. Not iAsonu. He's actually hanging on, but he has to keep the early game as strong as his mid game is.
Yeah. He's showing us some great things. He has good mechanics, obviously. He's got solid macro. He takes bases left, right, and center. As soon as he loses one, he replaces them. It's just a couple of these flaws. And this was the case at the Intox 3 Masters as well, where he had a great run. He made it out of that very, very stacked group. But just, you know, against somebody like TY, who's obviously similar to INnoVation in many ways. Not every way, but similar in the way they're both godlike Terrans, and they're very, very hard to beat. It was the same thing, you know, put up a decent fight in a couple of the maps. Just often was fighting an uphill battle.
Okay, we're now going to Mech Depot, Artos' favorite map. Let's see if we maybe have some mech on Mech Depot. Actually, I don't think we will. I think he's going to do the same stuff he normally does. We'll see.
We'll definitely have depots then.
Yeah, we'll definitely have depots. We at least got that. That much we know. That much we know. All right, let's do this. The countdown started. INnoVation against iAsonu in our third game.
It's been nothing but 3-0 so far, and obviously the machine would like to have another 3-0 as well. It is one and only
INnoVation.
In the bottom left, in the red, he needs to turn this series around. Good luck to him. He is
Invictus Gaming, iAsonu.
I wonder how much experience the Chinese Zerg has on this map so far. Now, Mech Depot is a tricky one. It's been added just a couple of weeks ago, and obviously iAsonu went to the Intox 3 Masters as well, so perhaps didn't have that much time to practice on this map, as this map was not used yet in that tournament. This is one of these maps where you have to be very careful, especially in the middle. There's a lot of rocks. It can mess with the AI a little bit. Before you know it, you think your units are going via the north side. Suddenly they split up and you lose half your army. So it's very, very important you don't rely too much on rally points and actually keep a close eye on where your units actually go.
Sometimes you could end up with a player like iAsonu who has a huge advantage on a new map like this. It really depends on how the player wraps their head and how they learn about the game. Some people, when you have a new map or new units or anything that's just basically something that could not have been practiced that much before, some people really get it a lot faster than others. And INnoVation, I think, is a much better example of a player who continues to just absorb information like this giant sponge. And as time passes, he ages like wine. He doesn't age like milk.
And he's a very fine wine.
A very
already.
fine wine. Okay, this is you cannot afford this wine.
No.
You can't even afford the cheese you have to pair with this wine. And I do wonder though, with a new map, perhaps iAsonu's got a trick up his sleeve that maybe can catch INnoVation off guard before INnoVation can continue to just download and sponge up.
If INnoVation is a
fine
wine, what is iAsonu right now?
iAsonu is like he's like Grey Goose vodka.
Oh, okay,
you know, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. So it's not bad at all.
No.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I'm not gonna say he's like a juice box or something. Don't worry, I'm not that mean. I'm a nice guy.
All right, as we have the first rip.
Like he's an off. What is it like? Not a mainstream soda. He's like Mr. No. What is that? I don't know. No. I'm off. What is it, Artosis? Mountain Lightning, exactly. Like not Mountain Dew, like Mountain Lightning. Okay. See, that's why I work with that guy. Anyways, in this game, let's see what iAsonu can do.
Very fast Stim this time for INnoVation. Going for a traditional opening. No Hellions this time. That's kind of cool as well. It almost seems like INnoVation is so confident that he doesn't really want to reveal all that much going into the next rounds of this tournament. That's how confident he is. He's like, you know, first game, I'm going to open up with 6 Marines and a Withermind drop. Game number 2, we're going to do some Hellion Banshee. Game number 3, I'll go for a traditional 2-1-1 opening. A bunch of Stim Marines, 2 Medevacs very quickly. It almost feels like INnoVation is freestyling a little bit.
Yeah, I think, you know, throughout the series, he's basically been feeling out iAsonu to try to see what direction he can take this game in. By the way, good job. He did take out that Reaper, and he did slow down the hatchery at least a little bit back there. I'm not sure. You know, it's because this map is so new, and this is an unusual matchup to have these two guys duking it out on basically the first games we're really casting of it. I really just don't know what to expect.
No, it's a pretty fast layer this time for iAsonu as well, so there's a good chance that maybe we'll see some Muda play come out of him. I wouldn't mind it at all. As we have one Evo Chamber go down as well, so maybe he's going to go for melee and then a quick Spire. We saw him play Hydras on Abyssal, but I don't think if you play Hydras on Abyssal, you necessarily want to play Hydras on a map like Mech Depot. This seems like an alright map for some Muda Link Bane action. I mean, it's large. It seems like there is multiple ways to counter. There's a lot of space in the main as well, so maybe these Mudas can just bounce around and find some expels, maybe add-ons or SCVs, right?
Yeah, I agree. Again, par for the course from INnoVation. He's going to load up these medevacs. Stim is going to get done right as he could engage any possible Zerg units. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. I think the strongest I've seen INnoVation use this style is to actually not drop in the main, but drop at the creep.
Yeah.
He's very good at escaping. And as we've seen before, iAsonu actually doesn't handle the earliest engage harasses. Seems to be his weakest part of the game. Later on, he's quite strong.
No, you're spot on. He has no idea, by the way, about these 2 medevacs on the north side of his third base. He has a lot of Zerglings that are in the main. They're quite far out of position. At least the Queens are here. But we saw that on Abyssal as well, where he ended up losing 3 or 4 Queens immediately. It is important that these Zerglings get the hell over here as quickly as possible, or iAsonu is going to be in a lot of trouble again.
Oh my god, now this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at the trading here. Now he's going to wait until there's just enough Marines to load up just 1 medevac so he doesn't overextend. Okay, then the targeting. Oh my god.
This is gross. INnoVation, stop. This man has a family as well. All of the links are
Oh my god, he's murdering him. He's just tearing through the humanity. Oh god.
And there's a few more Zerglings do pop. One of the medevacs is so low in HP, but INnoVation gets out of there as well. Can we take a look at the units lost tap?
That is insane. 5 drones, 41 lings,
5 queens,
and 1 creep tumor. That's a cherry on the dead Zerg cake.
And it's the same story over and over and over again, Tasteless. iAsonu right now has his work cut out for him. He just lost 5 queens. Do you know how hard it is to keep your micro going after you lose 5 queens?
I know.
To get proper creep spread?
You could see he got 1 queen, then he backed up enough and thought, wait a minute, the queens ran far back enough. I can basically keep my medevacs both safe, kill the lings, and then just kept going. And he's now repairing up. He is going in for attack number 2.
Yeah, and with 23 Marines that are going to have 1-1 upgrades as well. I think Combat Shield is done already. There are 7 Banelings morphing, but these Banelings won't have Baneling speed. Tasteless. Are you ready for a highlight reel? Because I feel that could very well one be coming real soon.
God, it's crazy how good INnoVation is at these engages. And it looks like he's just, from the 2 previous games, he identified, okay, he's basically a little bit soft early on. I'm going to try to do most of my damage here. Now, the Banelings are here.
But they're slow Banelings.
Yeah, they're not rolling. They're running right now. He's waiting for speed to finish. In the meanwhile, we can see great pickups here by INnoVation as he backs up. He'll unload again, rinse, and repeat.
Yep, and he spots the timing of Baneling speed there as well. I actually thought that was going to be a little more exciting. If that was Beyond, you know that at that point Beyond would stop everything else that he's doing in life, and the only thing he would focus on is getting 7 Marines to kill all 7 Banelings.
That's
and pick all of them up.
If Beyond was here, he'd also have about 13 Reapers with that army as well, doing the exact same thing. And we wouldn't really know how to play by play because it's so hard to call what he's actually doing. By the way, Stim's coming in again. INnoVation just leaning. There's a counterattack on way, though. iAsonu headed to the right.
There's no creep there after the Liberator spot. All of these Zerglings and Banelings, well, there's a couple of mines there, by the way, so iAsonu is going to have to be very, very careful about how he decides to roll in there.
Okay. The 2 Liberators are headed southbound. He spotted that army but didn't decide to engage with it. I think if he just has the right mind hits, he can be okay.
Yeah, I think. I mean, INnoVation's so confident. He's still sending 2 medevacs full of units to the other side of the map. Ah, good split up there by iAsonu, but there's another mine.
He doesn't know. Oh!
Oh my god, he just doesn't shoot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been waiting to see that thing actually fire. Okay, now, this is getting in there, and he actually is getting a great amount of damage. However, back at home, it's a little bit chaotic. A lot of drones are being picked off, and I believe the reinforcements from INnoVation should be able to eventually allow him to resecure his base. Whoa, meanwhile, I didn't even know this was in the game right now.
Ah, good queens there. Actually got one of the medevacs as well. Well done. iAsonu is getting quite a bit of damage done. The biggest problem is he's still just working with Zerglings and Bailings. That is the very first tech building that has been thrown down. And it is once again a Hydra Den. But no Zerg ever wants to throw down a Hydra Den being on 44 drones. And look at this as well, Tasteless. INnoVation just lost 20 SCVs, right? So you'd be like, oh, maybe he's low on economy. No, he actually has a 13 worker advantage.
Yeah, well, he's just so perfect in how he approaches this. Now, again, we saw iAsonu do this a little bit before where sometimes he does enough damage, but then he begins to hemorrhage units. He seems to know how to get in there and pick a fight, but he doesn't always know how to properly follow it up. And back in iAsonu's bases, everything's basically in shambles.
This is something that some of these Chinese Zergs have loved to do quite often. I mean, Tootming did it in the past as well. You just kind of go 1-1, or you try to get 1 on the upgrades on your Zerglings and Banelings. Then you go up to like 50 drones, you take 3 bases, and then you just make nothing but Lings and drones, and you try to just create a super hectic scenario. You try to kill as many SCVs as possible. And he did an alright job there. He definitely killed around 25 SCVs in total. The biggest problem is you're playing against INnoVation, who will never stop building SCVs no matter how much pressure you put on him.
Yeah, that's one of the really scary parts about this, is that when the dust settles, even though the fights are awesome and it's back and forth, it seems like suddenly INnoVation's just way ahead. Yep. And he's a little bit ahead now, so I'm not counting iAsonu out by any means. But I will say, I think if you kind of mark up all the points that have been earned back and forth there, it's definitely leading a little bit towards INnoVation.
Yeah, absolutely, Faceless. 2-2 upgrades are done. 3-3 upgrades are on the way. He's getting drilling claws as well. He's getting a 4th base. iAsonu just made 7 overlords at once. At least he's not going to get supply blocked anymore. But that ain't going to help against the army that INnoVation is going to have, that he's going to send across the map quite soon as well. Now, games like this can be a little hectic, even for a veteran, a super experienced player like INnoVation, where he's maybe asking himself, how far ahead am I truly? Because, you know, I did lose quite a few SCVs in the end.
You know, you're totally right. It's easy for us, if we're watching this, we see everything to identify where they are, but both players might be a little bit uncertain as to where exactly they stand in this game.
Yep.
But INnoVation is not letting up, nor is iAsonu, by the way. He's got a big attack coming up here in the upper right. He doesn't see this drop, however. Let's see how much damage he can pull off.
A couple of Marines. I think that's one of those cases where on Mac Depot there are quite a few rocks in the middle of the map. Now this one drop, only 8 Marines, still going to be able to get quite some work done. Maybe the spawning pool can go down as well if INnoVation decides to target it. He's getting a couple of Widow Mines as well on the north side, and of course he's bulletproof against the counterattacks.
You can see the links coming in now, but is he going to be able to match the damage that's already being reaped over here on the expansions for iAsonu? iAsonu, these queens clogging up along with the Hydras, unable to have a good engage. INnoVation just killing everything.
Yeah, the start was just phenomenal for INnoVation early on. We remember those 16 Marines murdering 5 queens and 41 links. I feel that was almost the beginning of the end. iAsonu is fighting for whatever he's worth.
Uh-oh.
But INnoVation's
He's pulling the trigger. He's pulling the trigger right now. He's saying no more need for harass. I've crippled him enough. It's 180 supply to 107. And notice how many units are hemorrhaged here by the Zerg as he tries to spill forward. The minefield goes back actually so much further. It looked like it was an entire other screen to the right.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be the tipping point because he can actually hit that base, from the high ground like this. What is Zerg going to do?
Absolutely
Take the bottom of the map? No, Roddy, he cannot do that.
He ain't got no money.
He's broke right now. And look, I mean, you notice that INnoVation halts everything here, guys. He's like, all right, figure it out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? He's like, send on my 7 my Widow Mines? No, wrong answer. Now that there was the right one.
There's just way too much Zerg here. The last Baneling gets picked off as well.
Well done. I do want to point out, iAsonu is so strong early on that even though he loses these units, he, no matter what, manages to get into mid-game or mid-late game.
I think especially the first game was awesome. And Abyssal, there really was a little bit of hope at one point where it's like, wow, iAsonu's maxed out. He's got ultras. He's got 3-3. They're trading blows. You know, they're taking each other's bases. There was a split moment where I absolutely believed in the chance of iAsonu. And I think this Chinese Zerg, like, I really don't want to disrespect him because he keeps showing us great things over and over and over again. And I feel he's getting very close towards the top level of this scene.
Yeah.
He just needs to have better early games.
I agree. If he can just stabilize early on, he should have enough momentum to be actually, I think, an advantageous position even against somebody like INnoVation. Anyways, the interview's ready. Let's see how INnoVation is feeling.
Hey guys, I'm Artosis alongside Sojung, and of course, INnoVation, our winner of the third series of the night. First off, congratulations, INnoVation. I want to talk to you about iAsonu for a second because, yeah, you took him out 3-0 and you played very well, but he definitely had his moments in that series, and especially at Shanghai, he played well. What do you think about iAsonu as a player overall recently?
우선 3대0으로 이기신 거 굉장히 축하드리고요. 근데 일단 아야소노 선수도 분명히 잘했던 순간들이 있었어요. 그래서 일단 아야소노 선수에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시나요?
일단 IM 상회에서
네.
되게 스타일도 독특하시고 잘 하셔가지고 방심하지 말자고 생각하고 잘하는 선수라고 생각하고 있었어요.
I played against him at IEM Shanghai, and I thought that I wouldn't let myself down when I was playing against him. And I thought that he had a unique style.
Okay, well, he definitely does have that. Now, INnoVation, you are supposedly the best player in the whole world, but you haven't won a big event since IEM Gyeonggi. Why is that? And are you going to finally win another event here at GSL vs. the World?
전 세계적으로 일단 가장 잘하는 선수라고 사람들이 생각을 많이 하고 있잖아요. 근데 IEM 경기 이후로 이제 큰 대회를 우승하신 적이 거의 없어요. 일단 다음 경기를 이제 우승하실 수 있을 것 같으신지 어떤 생각을 갖고 계신가요?
잘하는 이미지이기는 한데 뭐 막 그렇게 막 우승 후보까지는 실력이 아닌 것 같긴 하고 그냥 경기가 일단은 GSL이랑도 오늘 하는 것도 있어가지고 둘 중에 우승 하나는 좀 하고 싶네요.
I do think that I have this image that I play well, but I don't think I have what it takes. I don't think I have enough of what it takes to win, but I have GSL in this, so I will try my best to win.
All right, a very INnoVation answer there. Our last question here, which foreigner are you most afraid of out of everybody? And do you think there's any chance that a foreigner can actually win this whole tournament?
이 대회에서 어떤 외국인이 가장 무서우신지, 어떤 외국인이 가장 두려우신지, 그리고 혹시 이 대회를 우승할 수도 있는지 생각해 보신 적 있으신가요?
저는 스칼렛 선수가 그 GSL에서 했을 때 좀 잘 하시더라고요. 그래서 그래도 그 외국 분들 중에서는 제일 강하다고 생각을 하고 변현 선수랑 하는 경기가 좀 재밌을 것 같아요.
I think Scarlett played well in GSL, and her play against Byun will be very interesting.
All right, well, thank you very much, INnoVation and Sojung. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, the last match of the night, it's going to be Cyril against Byun.